Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Plocast podcast. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about the Bad Batch season dose. We know it wrapped up a couple weeks ago now, but we want to just kind of get another video out to have our sort of final thoughts. We did that for season one. We had a whole season one review. So if you want to check out all of those videos, actually, you can find them on the channel and in the description. We have season one reactions, season one. We did a lot more videos for season one, but we also have all the season two reactions. You can hear our thoughts on each individual episode. If you want more details on something we bring up about a certain episode, you can check all those out. Yeah, basically we're going to be just talking a little bit about the season, what we thought it did well, what we thought it didn't do well, what our thoughts are on the third season, which I believe has been confirmed to be the final season. I don't know if you knew that or not, but season 3 will be the final season, I believe.
So season 3 is the final
three.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought you meant 2. I'm like,
it's over. Yeah,
okay.
Surprise.
That would have drastically changed my review.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess we can start. This is going to be a weird question, but I want to get your answer to this. Do you think The Bad Batch is a good show? Do you think it's a good show?
Wow.
A little bit of a
curveball.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna, even before I think about it, I'm just gonna start talking about it. What constitutes a good show? A good show for me is something that week in and week out I'm into. Good show for me is a show I can take a step back and describe easily. But it's also something I can have fun with. It's something that maybe I don't have to be too smart to watch. And by that, I mean, like, it's not pretentious. Like, it's showing me, this is how you win a Clone Wars. That, to me, are kind of lame shows. There's a lot of shows like that. And sorry if that didn't make any sense. But The Bad Batch, especially season 2, to me, might have been lacking in some of those areas. I don't know if it had a large, cohesive story. I guess generally it kind of does, because you can always just say, it's about the Bad Batch and their struggles throughout the galaxy. But that is just so broad that it can encompass pretty much anything, which could be room for a lot of fun things, a lot of cool stuff, but it could also leave room for a lot of fly episodes, like the fly episode from Breaking Bad, where it doesn't really have anything to do with anything. There are a bunch of those this season, I think, more than last. But there were very, very good episodes this season. So would I define it as a good show altogether? I don't know. I think it's in a weird spot right now.
When I say good, I don't mean like, man, that was a good show. I mean, like, yeah, it was good. That's the kind of good. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it was good. Yeah.
Okay. Then would you say the majority of shows are like, oh, yeah, that's a good show? Then I guess this would be, yeah, it's a good show.
Yeah. I guess.
Because when I'll counter. Here's what I think when I think good show. When I say good show, that's me coming and telling my friend, oh, this is a good show. You should watch it. Right. Now, I tell one of my friends about Mandalorian, who don't watch Star Wars. I say, oh, that's a good show. You should watch it. I don't think I've ever said that about Bad Batch, except I do have some friends who watch like a bunch of Star Wars, who've seen all the Mandalorian stuff. I would say, oh, you should watch Bad Batch. I don't know if I've ever said it's a good show. You should watch it.
So you would recommend it to like Star Wars people who want to get more Star Wars stuff.
People, exactly. Yeah. I think it's an avenue for more Star Wars. It is fun. I mentioned that as a good show. It is fun. Like, even the pod racing episode is probably the biggest, like, weird one this season. Faster, it's called. I have it up, the description.
I'd argue
but it's still
dinosaur
fun.
One was a little worse than that, but
I almost forgot about that one. Yeah, but again, even that one is like, it looks beautiful. The animation quality is so high, and it's fun. It's just good to get into, I guess. So I would say yes to that definition of good show. Like, oh, it's good. I would say, yeah, it's good.
Okay.
It doesn't make me hate Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's enough to be said. But no, I want to hear, because that's a really good question. But I want to hear what made you think of asking a question like that.
I don't know, just because like everybody talks about like what could have been, or like this missed potential here, and like this part disappointed me, but like ultimately, is it still like does that make it significantly worse? Does that make it just a little bit worse? Like, because like a lot of the issues we had are related to the idea of missed potential and like mistakes, but
Hmm.
does that take away from it just being, like, it's whatever, it's a good show, it's fine. Because like I think now I'm not going to include. I want to include season 3 for this, but like I think in the Star Wars context, I think Mandalorian is a great show. I think the Clone Wars is a great show. I think that Andor is an amazing show. I think Rebels is. I sometimes I think it's great. Sometimes I think it's good, but I think it could go up there. I think like I would have Bad Batches like it's good. Like it would be at like the B tier. If you had a
It's
TV
good.
show Star Wars tier list, I'd have it kind of B, maybe
Gotcha.
super low A, depending on what season 3 does because we don't know yet. Um,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like because I just wanted to like place it in the context of the other kind of Star Wars shows that we've had. You know what I mean? Like it's so weird because like all the stuff we talk about, but ultimately, how big of a deal is that? Like, how much does that increase the quality of it?
Hmm.
And I think it would increase the quality a lot actually. Um, so I think we can kind of move into what those things are that specifically disappointed us. Um, First off, you brought it up a little bit earlier, but I just want to talk about like the plot. Uh, for like 70% of it, there is none. Like there is no
Hmm.
main like
Yeah.
a plot. It's just a Bad Batch going around. We know that they're wanted by the Empire. We know that they're dealing with Sid, and that's kind of it. And then like with 4 or 5 episodes left, we get introduced to the Doctor, whose name I forget, but he reminds me of Starkiller for some
Uh,
reason.
Dr. Hemlock.
Yes, Hemlock. Thank you. We get introduced to
Mhm.
him, and we get to introduce to who we find out is another Jango Fett clone. That's like Omega's sister. And that was like at the end of the season.
Mhm.
So, like, if that's your plot, I feel it was a weird choice for them to wait so long to bring that in, because like I don't even know, like I completely forgot, but we also had what's it? Rampart. Admiral Rampart was there at the beginning of the season, and then Palpatine like throws him under the bus, and he gets arrested, and then we never see him again. And then,
Wow.
see, did you forget about him
Completely
until
forgot
just
about
yeah,
that.
exactly.
Completely forgot. That like unlocked a memory. But I do
Yeah,
remember him being in those early
yeah,
episodes.
but
Yeah.
like I just feel like it's so weird that there was no story of the whole, and like because other than that story at the end, it's just like adventures with team, adventures with the team, adventures with Clone Force 99, and then random Crosshair stuff placed in there. Because like I feel like even season 1, generally it was like Crosshair was kind of like the big, like, we got to get him back, we got to find him, or he's going to find us, or whatever. They didn't necessarily lean into that, which was one of my complaints about season 1 as well. But at least season 1 had that sort of like Crosshair is like a big part of like the story, and then it ended with Crosshair as well. But I don't know
Hmm.
about you, like, I don't really see, like, I feel like that was kind of a weak point of the season, is how much time we wasted on things that weren't the plot.
For season 2 or the season
Two
1
for season
crosshair
2.
stuff? Yeah.
Season 1, the
Yes.
Crosshair stuff. Because like at least there was like the little semblance of them being like, we could find him and we got to bring him back, and the
Hmm.
inhibitor chips, and then it ended with him being like, no, I took it out or whatever. That at least had that. This season 2, I feel like there wasn't even that really, because they were kind of
Yeah.
over. They went their
Yeah.
separate ways, and it was just, you know,
I think season 1, it felt like they it felt like, yeah, that was, they're always trying to hit that. There's also the other aspect of Omega being that clone that was very valuable to the Empire, and week in and week out. That was a thing too, a factor. And then it also had the setting of Order 66 and the turn of Republic to Empire. Very cool themes to explore. And it did deviate from that path, I think, but it still had a path. For this season, season 2, I feel like, and I know it's not, because like you can't just tack on a story. You have to make all these episodes in advance. But it felt like that. It felt like the path was not the story. It felt like the general story of this season was going on silly adventures, and then they wandered into good episodes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
at
like
the
the
end they were like
inverse.
focused up real quick and then they gave us a little
Yeah.
short story.
I'll make the analogy to me in all my college classes where I kind of do mediocre the whole semester and then have to pull it in together for the finals.
Yep.
And that's what this felt like, which isn't cool, dude. Like, yeah, I don't get it. We did this rant a little bit more often than not. I feel like at the end of episodes. But for me, at least, like the biggest issue with me for that, with like the biggest issue for me with a pod racing episode isn't that it's a pod racing episode. It's that we're in a Bad Batch show that's been started in the guise of this like show to explore the turn of Republic to Empire. And it was hitting that a lot in season 1. Even when it would deviate, it would hit that. It kind of ended there. And then there were a few, maybe 4 minus the finale, like episodes who hit it really, really well in this season. But then they just drop it on a dime. Like they want to be a show that's really cool. And I guess that's like speaking to that missed potential stuff. But I think it's more than that. I think it's more than missed potential. I think it's like incohesive, you know? Like when you are attacking that larger storyline and even bringing over threads like Rampart was from season 1 and stuff and the Crosshair stuff. And they hit Crosshair. When they gave him his own episodes, they hit him well. But yeah, but besides that, like there's nothing. Our characters didn't really develop. Tech dies after just being Tech his whole life. They almost shoehorned in a relationship with him and I forget the lady's name.
Fee.
Fee.
Yeah,
like it just felt tacked on, which like that cannot be, right? They knew the whole plan or lack thereof of the season like before it dropped, right? They're not making these week by week. Like, so it was a choice to make the majority of the content in the last 3 episodes. Like, what the heck? What is it for? Like, what is the show for?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that's rambly, so I'll let you talk a little bit more about it.
No, yeah, I mean, it definitely makes sense, and like you can, and I'm not here to say that filler episodes are bad. It's bad filler episodes are bad. If you want to have the plot be second to the characters, fine, but in those filler episodes, you have to do something with the characters, and almost all of the filler episodes, that's not the case at all. There was one standout I can think where we got real actual character moments for character, and it was the first part of the cave mining arc, and it was that episode with right after Echo leaves and Omega and Tech have that nice little bonding relation, like parenthood or sibling moment where, you know, Tech is like berating her, whatever he says in like a cold manner to try what he thinks is comforting to her using his facts and analysis, and she takes it, you know, completely wrong, and everyone is looking at Tech like, why would you do that? And then they have that nice moment afterwards in the scene by the pool of water, wherever they ended up. That was one of my favorite episodes of the season, one of my favorite scenes. Just I feel like we could have had that type of thing for all of these characters all throughout these in between filler episodes. And like they tried that with this might be an unpopular opinion, but the pod racing episode, like sure Tech got some development, but like I feel like it was development in the wrong direction. Because like what was the ultimate realization for Tech there? That he's a smart guy? Like, we knew that. The whole conflict is him fighting with this droid, and this droid telling him, oh, you're just a stupid human. You're not smart enough to, or good enough to pilot this speeder like I am, a droid. And then Tech proves him wrong, and everyone realizes that he's super smart. To me, at least, like, I'm like, we already knew that. What? Like, it would have been way more interesting if he turns that on his head, and to win, he has to act more human, or he taps into a more emotional side of himself that we never see. So stuff like that, and like we got very few anything with Wrecker anymore. Like he had his little thing with the inhibitor chip, kind of, but generally, and even like Echo, like I mean, he did leave for a good chunk of the season, so and we already have stuff with him from Clone Wars, but there's no development in these filler episodes for these characters. There's never any times where we see them grow or change other than, oh, being a parent sure is different than being a soldier, am I right? That's literally the whole thing, like, all the time with Omega. Is just like, oh, man, being a parent/sibling sure is different from being this crazy soldier in a war. The war is over, guys. Did you know that? I feel like they hit that all the time. And, like, sure, that's a theme, but there's nothing there of substance with the actual Bad Batch, which is just, that's definitely... So I definitely agree with you there, and that's one of my biggest complaints. The next complaint I think we're going to talk about is one that we've already talked about. I'll introduce it first. Basically, the tonal shifts and the tonal dissonance between these episodes take away the plot, the characters, whatever, but the shifts in tone from each one to the next is really off-putting. And I think the best people to talk about this is us from the past. Season 2, episode 12, the episode with Crosshair at that clone base with Mayday.
Outpost.
Fantastic episode, Outpost. Probably my favorite of the season. After that episode, we kind of, and a lot of, you'll tell in the footage you're about to see, but we were kind of heated. We were probably a little bit more so emotional and making it a bigger deal than it actually is because it was right in the moment, right after the episode finished. Yeah. But we went on about a 20 or so minute rant about this very topic. So instead of just saying it all over again, we're just going to play that footage for you now. Remember, this is back from when season 12 dropped, so we hadn't seen the rest of the season, so keep that in mind as well. So here is that footage now, and we will see you back here to talk about the season more when that is done. I feel like we say this every time there's a really good episode like this. What is this show? What is it? What is it doing? What is this show? Literally, what is it? I'm so completely lost with the direction of this show.
Yeah.
I have no clue where it's like, it doesn't make any sense. The two best episodes this season do not feature any of the main characters. Other than Crosshair, who's kind of an antagonist.
And grown-up Omega.
The voice actor, literally. Yeah. Like, the two best ones of the whole season.
Omega's voice actor still wanted to get paid for the episode. She's like, well, let me just do someone. I still want to, even if Omega's not in it, I'll do
something. I'll just hop in real quick.
But yeah, dude.
But the tonal, like, shit, like, dissonance, I think is the correct term. But, like, this is so dark and depressing and like, character-driven. And, like, even through the direction and the cinematography and the music, it's, like, a somber, it's not meant... You cannot tell me that this episode is primarily directed at really young children. Because it's just gonna... Like, I mean, not to say that kids wouldn't get it, but, like, it doesn't have big flashy, other than, like, the ship blowing up. There's no funny dialogue. There's no, quick-paced plot. Like, it's a slow kind of just look into this one little event that's kind of detached from everything else. And it's amazing. But, like... And there was, like, blood, and we're not even fully sure, like, it could have been, like, it's from, like, a humanoid... thing. It's a blood trail.
I think they were aliens.
Yeah, I think they were, but they were like human, like they were humanoid shaped. So, like, you have Crosshair shooting this guy and following the blood trail and finding that he died in a icy tunnel. Like the way that Mayday dies, like it's not in a blaze of glory to save the day. Like he just dies because of the situation and the fact that this Imperial is not going to save him. There's no way in the world that he would ever think that the right call would be to save this guy unless it was an order from a higher up. And then, like, that episode, and then you go back a couple with the treasure hunt and the dinosaur thing and the speeder bike racing and Sid and, like, what the heck are we doing? What is happening? You cannot flip-flop like this so much. Like,
yeah,
I'm sure other people probably aren't as bothered by it, which is fine. But like to me, like that's just so like you
Mm,
can't have both extremes. They have both extremes. Like find a middle ground. Like most episodes kind of fall in that middle ground, but then you have episodes that are way down here in terms of like the tone, and then you have ones like this one that are way up here. This isn't like good bad. It's more just like the
yeah, yeah.
you know, and like it just
Lighthearted
yeah,
or serious.
it just happens that the serious ones are better by a lot.
Yeah.
But like I don't understand why this is what they're doing. Like why are the Bad Batch the protagonists when the most interesting concepts and episodes come from things that they have little to no part in? If we had a show filled with just episodes like this for different characters and different perspectives throughout the whole galaxy with the Bad
Mm,
Batch in it, you could still have the Bad Batch in there plus Crosshair because he's got kind of an arc so far in the 2 episodes he's been
yeah.
in. You can still have that, but why are the Bad Batch taking center stage so much? I like these characters. I like the squad. I like Omega. I like them. Okay, I like them. They're cool. Why but they don't do anything. They don't
Yeah.
change in any meaningful way, and when they do, it's for a small period of time, and then we hop back into Adventure Time, like what's going on. Like I don't understand the choice to feature them as to have them as the protagonist and then feature them in so little meaningful ways. Like just
Hmm.
pick one or the other. Like it's just it boggles my mind how this is
Yeah.
I just don't get it. I don't get it.
I think you said, why are the Bad Batch taking center stage? I really like that question because I think at first glance you're like, well, it's their show. But then
Why?
you're the second question should be like, okay, or the response should be like, then shouldn't it be easy to answer why they're taking center stage?
Yeah.
Like, but I don't know why we're not given reasons. It should be easy. It should be something like, and why is Mandalorian or why is Mando taking center stage in the Mandalorian? Oh, because he has to redeem himself. He has a quest. He's trying to save Grogu. Like, there's reasons. Why is the Bad Batch taking center stage?
Yep.
Omega, I guess, is kind of well. They
Yeah,
kind
and
of
like
already saved her from the
Crosshair, like he
Empire.
was on the team, but like now he's a
Right?
bad
Like
guy.
that should be the easiest question to answer about a show titled The Bad Batch, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't think it is. So I like that you answered. And the other thing you said too is tonal dissonance.
I believe
And I
that's the
think the
term, yeah.
dissonance, yeah, I think that's the correct word to use because you can have tonal shifts. You can have nice, fun episodes and then say, all right, we're going to shift and we're going to get a little more serious. We're going to hunker down.
Rebels does that all the time, and it works.
Yeah. Yep. I think it works. I'm trying to, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I was trying to think of some examples. I don't know if anything is coming off the head right now, but like the point is that this isn't one of them. Like it's just whatever. Oh, I guess we'll be serious this week. Like it's like, oh, okay. Like I had no expectations for an episode like this. I
Me
should have.
neither.
If there's a direction to the show, I should be expecting something like this. We're lucky enough that it was really, really good. But you can also do something very serious and have it bad. And then I'd be sitting there like, what the heck? Like, what are we doing, guys?
Yeah.
And I think, like, again, I feel like we say this a lot too, is that I don't like to take away from a good episode by saying it doesn't really fit into the season. But that happens so often, it's worth mentioning. This episode is really, really, really good. It's obviously one of the best of the season.
Of the
But
show.
it's like, yeah, it's at a time though, like as I'm watching, like I'm like, whoa, like thank goodness it was good, you know? Because if I got hit with this tonal dissonant shit, like I'm not ready for this shift. It needs to be more subtle. It needs to be more focused, more planned. I don't think they have a very good plan. I'll say
I
it.
don't know. I feel like they pitched the show with the idea of, the transition from the Republic to the Empire through the eyes of Clone Force 99, which in concept you think, okay, great.
Dope.
Then they sat down, wrote the first season, and they were like, oh, we ran out of stuff to do with them. They did the Order 66 inhibitor chip stuff, and they
Treasure
brought in
hunt.
Omega, and then they ran out of ideas. They were just like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, so now it still has to be through their lens.
Mm-hmm.
and we're supposed to show off the transition period and the Empire, but it also has to still be a Bad Batch show.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what to do with them. We don't know where to take any of their characters. So we're just gonna, I guess we have to write random episodes for them. And then the actual cool stories that we want to tell, we're gonna have to save for either when one or two off episodes, like the one where Tech gets a lot of development, or
Yeah.
the ones that the Bad Patch is not in. They aren't in it. They're not in they're not
Not
in the
even a
best parts
little
of the
bit.
show. Like last
Yeah.
season, um, the one episode, what was it called? The one with Hauser.
Yeah. I
The
don't remember what it's called, but yeah, on
the first part, right? Because they
with
didn't.
the
They
Twi'leks, I forget the planet.
was it Ryloth? I think it was Ryloth.
Yeah, Ryloth.
Like
Right?
I think so. Yeah, but
Okay,
the,
okay.
the first one was the one that the Bad Batch like they cameoed in,
They
right?
showed up at the very end, and Omega meets, young Hera, and they're like, "Oh, you're
Yeah,
cool."
that episode is one of my favorites of the whole
Yeah,
series. This one that we just watched is one of my favorites of the whole
the
series.
Cody one.
Yeah, and the Cody one, episode 3, is one of my favorite ones
There's
of
so
the whole
many. Yeah.
series. The
Mm,
Bad Batch is not
no
in
titular
those
characters.
episodes. They're not in them.
Hmm.
It's just like I don't. We might be like blowing this out of proportion, but like it's so often that this is the case, and it's like I don't like being jerked around like that. I don't like being like thrown to one side of the spectrum and then sliding over here. Like it's jarring and it's uncomfortable sometimes because like you're riding the vibes of a previous episode, and like it was like super lighthearted and funny, and then we kind of roll into this one and we were going in
Yeah.
kind of and then it's like super serious and like you just feel weird, like you just feel like
Yeah.
something is out of place, and I kind of felt that at the beginning of the episode a little bit, and like once it got gone I was into it more, but like it just bothers me. I don't like it. I
Yeah.
don't like it. I don't know.
No, I think you said we might be blown out of proportion. I don't think so. I
Yeah.
think it is a problem. But I think it's part of a larger problem of oversaturation. I mean, this is running concurrently with Mando.
Yep.
Oversaturation is a huge problem in Marvel after the Endgame
Absolutely.
saga, Infinity War saga. And I think it has a lot to do with Disney. People
Yeah.
make fun of Kathleen Kennedy and Disney all the time, but they're just a corporation and they just want to make money. And they saw that people like the Bad Batch in Clone Wars, and they're like, let's make a show with them. And then the writers got on board because they also thought it was a cool idea. And season 1 was pretty good. It had a nice overarching story, and they got that. And then Disney was like, cool, so season 2? When maybe there's not a whole season of stories to tell.
Yeah.
Maybe there's just one, like it doesn't have to be like this. It's such a corporate structured way to do things. It doesn't have to be this way. We don't have to go on treasure hunts with the Bad Batch. We can still enjoy them if it's a shorter season and the episodes matter more. And that also helps to have a tonal consistency throughout the episodes.
Yeah.
Just tell the story you want to tell. You know, we don't need all these shows. But Disney, I think, is seeing it like, well, they're giving us money, so we do need all these shows.
They
so
really liked
do
Clone
whatever you
Wars.
want.
Let's do a different one.
Yeah. And
Tales of the Jedi.
I mean,
it's just another Clone Wars. Like
exactly. And if this was 5 years ago, I would be beating myself up now for saying it's too much Star Wars. But I'm very scared that I haven't seen anything Marvel, dude. There's just no point. It's not fun anymore because there's too much.
feels like a chore.
Yeah, so please don't do that with Star Wars, please. Like, we don't need all this. And it really bothers me that this is running concurrently with Mandalorian. It's like they don't think it's important enough.
Right.
And if they don't think it's important enough, why run it in the first place? Like, I don't know. I feel it's disrespectful to the Bad Batch. I like this episode, but like the treasure hunt episodes, maybe I could see why they would run it concurrently. Like, those episodes aren't up to par. So like it's just so like it just feels so forced when this is the best outlet to have the creative freedom to not be forced. You know, it's a streaming show. They're just putting it out here. This could easily be like 5 or 6 hour long episodes and just boom, 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 done. That's
Yep.
the story. That's all we wanted to share. No need to see Sid 8 times out of out of 16. And it is scary. And I think it is a problem worth highlighting, you know, because Star Wars is awesome. Don't ruin it, you know.
Yeah.
Like, please.
Yeah.
But and all like, isn't it funny too how all of this is on the back of a very good episode?
Yeah.
Because I think like we see this potential of like, this is awesome, and then we're like, do it every week. And like, why not? You know, like, is that really so much to ask for? Like, I don't think so. I don't, because we see them like they're just spaced out between weird episodes that really don't have any tonal consistency. So
Yeah. What
I don't know.
I don't like, if you wanted to make more, picture this. How about instead of bringing back Clone Wars for only 12 episodes, where 4 of them are 1,000% called out, already called for, because Siege of Mandalore is 4 episodes. How about you announce, hey, we're doing 2 more seasons, we're doing 3 more seasons. You have stuff that's already made that they could have released, along with all of these cool episodes from both seasons of the Bad Batch, including the good ones with the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
And then you cut all the fat, and then Clone Wars has 2 or 3 more fantastic seasons slapped onto it. Tales of the Jedi, that could have been popped in there. You could have delayed it 4 years for all I care, and we could have been having it now. Like, it's like, it's not that hard to like, I have no concept of like business
how to make a show
or
how to do
any
this.
of that, and I can say as a consumer, I would enjoy that significantly more if they had did that idea that I just randomly spouted out. All the good from what we've had so far, then our complaints about Tales of the Jedi wouldn't be there because we thought they were too short and they didn't have enough time to talk about everything. That could have been fixed in this season 7, 8, 9 of Clone Wars, plus all the ones that they never finished that are already voiced, by the way, so you don't have to pay the voice actor to do more lines. Just animate those, put them in there. Like, it would have been, and then also, it's so confusing now if you're coming in, because if you're new, you're watching, you see that there's the Clone Wars, and the Clone Wars movie, and the Bad Batch, and Tales of the Jedi, all 4 of which are in the exact same animation style, and spread out in they're very different types of content, but it's also meant to be like the same kind of, not universe, because it's all the same universe, but the Clone Wars, like, animation medium format, I don't know. All of that is, like, probably so confusing for a new fan. Like, if it was all just in one show, if they just popped it to the end of Clone Wars, where the confusion is gone. Like, you just finish watching, you just watch through the whole thing. I guarantee you more people would be excited for an announcement of Season 8 of the Clone Wars than Season 2 of the Bad Batch. Even though they're the same style, and even if the Bad Batch appear in that hypothetical 8th Clone Wars season, people would be way more excited for that.
Yeah, and like, literally every single episode of the Bad Batch can be Clone Wars episodes. Like, Clone Wars is so encompassing that they can be, but then Clone Wars is also so free that they don't have to be. Like, they've constrained themselves to making the Bad Batch about the Bad Batch. And then, like, every once in a while, they're allowed to stretch the rules and the Bad Batch isn't in it, and then it's the best episode of the season. So if it's just Clone Wars, then they don't have to use the Bad Batch so much that it's like, we don't have to go on treasure hunts, right?
Right.
And like, I don't like, I hate bullying that episode, but
it's the worst one by far.
Yeah, it's just it's just an epitome of how, like, if it was just Clone Wars, we can just use the Bad Batch as their best, trim off the fat, like you said, and just do the fun stories. And that's what it should be. Do it right or don't do it at all. Like, it's this weird middle ground. Like, not even middle ground. It's this weird too much, too little. Like, I don't even know, man. And it's again, this is a discussion after we just enjoyed and loved an episode.
Amazing episode.
Yeah.
See, that's like, the problem.
This isn't how we should feel. This isn't how we should feel. Yeah. It is a problem.
It's not even me digging at the Bad Batch themselves as characters, but like, because like, I like them. I've said it a million times. I like their characters, but like, they don't do anything, and the thing at the episodes where they're not doing anything could be replaced with way better episodes that they're 1000% capable of making, because we've seen it with proof. If all the episodes were just the same Like if they were all as mid as the treasure hunt one, I wouldn't be as angry. Like, sure, it wouldn't be as good, and I wouldn't be enjoying it as much.
But then you'd know what to expect.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't go in with, like, what should I expect today? Is somebody going to get brutally murdered, and we're going to have the depressing reality of, like, government, military, like, the poor treatment of veterans, which is a very, very prominent real-world topic? Or are we going to have a fun adventure where we go find this giant dinosaur mech, or we go in a mine, or we drive a cool speeder bike around? Like, you cannot do that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and it's weird. Just like the thing that bothers me the most too is all this stems off an art. Like you didn't have to make a Bad Batch show. You chose to make one. You said we want to make cool stories about the Bad Batch, and then you're like, maybe not. What? This was your idea. You're like, what the heck? Like it's so and then like again, like I hate like Kathleen Kennedy. She's just like a punching bag. I feel like, but it's the same thing with the sequels, dude. You chose to bring Star Wars back, and it's like it must be the only reason. It must, like it literally must. It wasn't that they had a cool idea. It's they wanted to make money. It was just a corporation, Disney, who wanted to make money. If it was like George Lucas who said, "No, I have this great story," like. It should be based off cool stories. That's what Star Wars is. It's what it should be. At the core, it's an awesome story. That I feel like that's what Mandalorian is. I feel like that's Jon Favreau saying and Filoni saying like, we have a cool story we want to tell. Let us do it. And that's when we get good episodes. But then when we get people, give us 16 more episodes of Bad Batch. I guess. I mean, yeah, we only wanted to tell the one part, but
we only have like 6 or 8 episodes in mind. But sure, we'll give you more.
It's so forced, dude. And it's the same thing with freaking. I haven't seen anything Marvel since like I saw Doctor Strange and Spider-Man's still good, but I think again, Spider-Man is. We have a great idea for Spider-Man. Let's do this. But more often than not, it's like we want to make money. Let's Ant-Man. Let's make an Ant-Man movie. Yeah. It's not people saying, oh, cool story for Ant-Man. Let's pursue this because I have a cool thing I want to show. It's, he can make a movie. Let's get money.
And even that movie is just set up for Kang the Conqueror. So it's not even really about Ant-Man. Well, it is, but like that's not.
They're just using Star Wars to make money instead of telling cool Star Wars stories. And I don't like it.
You can they're always using it to make money, but you can do both. You can tell great stories and make money off of it. If anything, that'll make you more money. Yeah.
Yes. It stinks, man. I hate freaking Disney.
Rant over.
Yeah.
And we're back in the present, or still the past for you, but that clip was from a couple weeks ago. So I hope you generally just got the idea of what we're talking about from that. You know, the tonal dissonance is weird, and generally the structure of these shows are weird in general because, you know, I think we did talk a little bit about how it would have just made more sense to cram all these animated shows into just 2 or 3 more seasons of the Clone Wars and just make it super cleaned and easy. Would have been knocked out of the ballpark, but, you know, we're not going to run on that too much more. We just have a couple other final things to say about that, and then we might jump into some stuff that we did like. So if you want to, I know you had another thing you wanted to say.
Yeah, I wanted to just, I don't think it's kind of the same avenue as tonal dissonance and inconsistencies. But I think it's worth a distinction. I think it's worth also pointing out that there were points in this season where it's like, A+ episode, one of the best episodes in animated Star Wars history, right? That episode was one of them, 12 Outpost. Season 3 was another one. Usually it's the Crosshair ones. Usually it's like the standalones. But it's like these episodes are so good while the other ones aren't so good, right? It's like a bunch of like, all right, that episode was a C, and then a C, and then A+, like great episode, then like a bunch of C's, and a few more A+. And like, it's hard for me to just pick. Yeah, right. There's a couple. Okay, I guess that was better than the rest. But for the majority, we're sitting at such a low point, and it's hard to me to separate those A+ from the rest, right? So like the average, it's weighing down those great episodes. So like in my mind, why not just cut away the ones that aren't good? Why not, instead of 16 episodes where 6 of them are good and 10 of them are like, wow, that was very mid. Why not just have 6 or 8 bangers, maybe even 5, just really good ones, make them longer than 20 minutes if you have to, and just really focus into it. That way you don't need to patent out, like, I know filler episodes aren't always bad, but like I couldn't name you a good one here.
They didn't
Maybe
do
it was
anything
that
with
the one
their filler
Evan.
episodes. Is the
Yeah. So if you're not going to do anything, why take up a week to have that there? You know what I mean?
You mentioned The Fly earlier,
I
and I think like that episode of Breaking Bad, like while it doesn't really have anything to do with the plot, it did a little bit for the characters of Walt and Jesse. Like they had that one moment where I forget, I think Jesse like drugs him or something, and then they start having this conversation with each other, and you learn more about like their inner thoughts and the relationship that they have. So it has some purpose there. A lot of these Bad Batch ones, like there is little to none of that, and it's just they did a thing, moving on, you know.
And I think more than just being a tonal shift, I also think it's a quality thing too. I think when we have a lot of those episodes in there, that when I get to a great episode, kind of like episode 12, we're like, dude, what the heck? Like, do this every week for 4 weeks. If you give me 4 episodes of this, I'm happier than 16 where 3 weeks in a row I'm like waiting for a good one. You know what I mean?
I feel like that's why we got so mad
also a thing
after that episode, because it was so good.
Yes.
And we were just like,
yes,
like why can't they all be like this, or at least like half of them?
Exactly. You shouldn't have that feeling with good episodes. I think that's my problem. You shouldn't be upset when a good episode is here. And this show led us down that path. So I wanted to articulate that. I think that's worth distinguishing and pointing out.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And those, like, I don't even know how many issues that breaks down into, like 2 or 3 or 4 or 1. I don't know. But those are our big. We could keep going all day about it, but I think we kind of got the big ones out of the way. And I'm sure there's other people that know way more about like storytelling and writing that could break it down further. So if you want more stuff like that, you can probably find that somewhere on YouTube. But I think now we could probably go into some things we liked, because it wasn't bad. I don't think it was a bad season.
Yes. Definitely things I liked.
Yeah, for sure. Like those few episodes we did point out, it was the Solitary Clone, the Outpost was really good. The first cave one that I don't remember the name of, I thought that one was pretty solid. The 2-part finale was pretty good. The one before the finale I think was decent. But yeah, like other than that, like even the preliminary one was just like, you know, it was cool, you know, hopping back in. But there were those really good episodes. I think the Outpost is in like the top. Now this, you know, it's obviously doesn't sound great when I say like top 20, but you have to remember there's like 100 some Clone Wars episodes, and then a lot of Rebels episodes. I think that episode is like top 20, 30 episodes of animated Star Wars ever. I think that was a really, really good episode. So there's definitely things to like, and we say this probably every video, but the animation quality, the models, the voice acting, the music, the lighting, always on point. This Clone Wars animation style has evolved so much since 2008 that it's just to the point where like everything they do is just an improvement, and it always looks great. Like there are some things you could probably nitpick, but in general, like it has the same vibe as the Clone Wars, and it's just getting better with like the upgraded, you know, animation software and models and whatever. Every episode, it always looks really good. I don't think I mean, am I?
I had a thought when you're saying that, and I agree 200% with you. I probably agree even more, dude. I think this is the best animation has looked ever. Like it just keeps getting better, even better than season 1. But the thought I had was, this is the flagship animated show for Star Wars. This is the only thing we're getting besides Tales of the Jedi, which I guess is coming out whenever they want.
They are making
this is what
I think.
Yeah, but like there's no more Clone Wars. There's no more Rebels. This is what we're getting to see of this great, great, great animation, voice acting, and all of it.
Music.
And I'm not gonna use this to like get down on the show again, but I think it justifies us being hard on it, right? We want it to be good because we love this style. We've grown up with the style. It's getting so much better. There's so many talented artists. Even the sounds, like the sound designers, it's phenomenal, dude. I love it. It gets so good to like, by the time we're a season into it, you almost take it for granted, right?
Yeah.
But I don't want to. So I think that's another reason why, like, we should hold, like, let's raise the bar. Let's hold a standard to these shows, you know? So I just want to add that in there because I think you're 100% right, dude. This show's looked awesome all season, and it's worth saying. And I think that also makes our complaints worth complaining about. Because we're not just ragging on it. We want it to be good because this is like the show in the animation style.
I think that adds even more legitimacy to our idea of why are all these shows separate? Why not just continue the Clone Wars? You know, like that's
Good
your
point.
If you look at the broad Star Wars, you know, if you were to pick one animated show that was like the flagship Star Wars animated show, it's Clone Wars without a doubt.
Yes.
Why not just make more of it, cut the fat, have amazing episodes with the Bad Batch in there, with Omega in there, all that great stuff you can keep with all the old episode. Like we already talked about this, but that just adds more legitimacy to that point, which, you know, I totally agree with. But yeah, it looks great. So at least it's not like ugly to watch, you know, because I think there's definitely, I know there's older animated shows that the content is really good, but the animation is a little dated for some people. So I guess it's good that we have something really great to look at every single time. So, you know, props for that. Also, like D. Bradley Baker for literally just
carrying
the whole everyone. And Michelle Ang too for Omega. But generally just him having this he's been doing this since 2008, but the distinctness of each character, and a lot of them, especially for Clone Force 99, are altered to, you know, with voice modulators or whatever. But shout out to him, always brings it. One of my favorite voice actors. He does a lot of other stuff too. So yeah, shout out to him in general for always doing this. It's the same thing, you know, like Book of Boba Fett, we weren't too high on, but shout out to Tamora Morrison for always being that guy. He's a great dude. So another case like that, another shout out to him. Also, I believe it's still Kevin Kiner who does the music. I could be wrong, but he's always brought his A game. When everyone thinks of Star Wars music, they always talk about John Williams, obviously. And, you know, of course you should. But Kevin Kiner, man, people sleep on him. Everything he makes is just like Ahsoka's theme song, her leaving the Order. That song is amazing. Victory and Death from season 7, Burying the Dead, whatever it is. There's so many great tracks that he's made. I think the Bad Batch theme is really cool. I believe he did that, but shout out to whoever did if he didn't. But Kevin Kiner in general is always, the music is always great. I just feel like he's overlooked sometimes because, you know, you have John Williams, but I feel like he should get some more props in general. But yeah, that's another thing I wanted to point out. Man, but like, is there even anything else we can say? I mean, I feel like that covers. Do you have? Yeah, go ahead.
I have one more big thing that I really enjoy. It's kind of another sleeper thing, like the animation quality. But Omega's an awesome character, dude. I just want to shout that out.
I like Omega.
Yeah, I remember season 1. I'm like, dude, we gotta have a kid in the squad. I got some cool stone cold killing clones, some bad motherfuckers. And then I got this little girl. What? And then it turns out she's like probably my favorite character in the whole season. So that's awesome. That's a huge takeaway from this. She shines even when the show doesn't. Super cool. Her personality, the way she's written is just awesome. There are times where, again, I think there's missed potential. Maybe she grow a little bit more. But more often than not, I think she's the one who has the most growth and stuff. And they really do explore her character to ends. And one of my favorite parts, and I hate saying this about deaths, but is when Tech dies. And also when Echo leaves, like huge, horrible things for a child to have to go through. Seeing how that strengthens Omega, seeing her grow is really, really cool. I think that's worth a shout because even like kind of the sleeper episodes, I think still I enjoyed her. And the Bad Batch 2 is like, oh, they're fun guys. But I think Omega more than them, especially because she's so new. It's awesome. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there because it's definitely something to highlight.
Yeah, no, definitely. I do agree that there is some missed potential there. Like we could get a lot more in terms of her character
Yeah, yeah.
reacting to being a child in this type of environment in this type of galaxy with this war and all that. I feel like we could definitely get a lot more of that. But when she does have moments, they're really good. Like Echo leaving, for me, I wasn't really sad. It was more exciting because I was really hyped for Echo to be doing something fun
Mm.
with Rex. Well, not fun for them, but going.
No,
Which
I know what you mean.
also, side note, really wish that more of the season was about Rex and his squad
I
of
know.
rogue clones evacuating. That would have been an amazing B plot for the whole season. By the way, just
Yeah.
throwing that out there. That would have been sick.
We can talk another half
But
hour if we get into
exactly,
that, dude.
so
Let's
that's
stop that
just a
there.
little note on that. But
Yeah.
it wasn't really sad for me to see Echo leaving. What was more sad for me was Omega's reaction to it, from her
Yes. Yes.
losing another, not losing because he didn't die, but like losing another member of the squad, a member of her family,
Hmm.
because to them that's their family. So that was what brought the big punch for that, and not nearly as much with Tech, because obviously Tech dying by itself is pretty sad. Even though they're all generally underdeveloped, him dying is still it was still a sad moment, and I think that it was done really well. But Omega carries a big load of that, of like the emotional reaction
Mm.
to that, because watching her react and having her being held back and saying that we have to go back and get him, even though like it wouldn't make any sense. When she wakes up, the first thing she says, I think, is she says Tech, and she's asking about him when they're back at Sid's place. She brings a lot of the emotion in that. She's a big reason you feel the way that you do. Not to say that
Hmm.
Tech's death isn't sad by itself, but her reactions to it and how the rest of the squad has to handle that, I think that brings a lot to just that event in general, because it's another tragic thing like that to happen for her, and it's sad. So I think she definitely is a highlight of the show for sure. Yeah. Anything? Any other big standout things? I feel like a lot of ours are just general.
Hmm. The last thing I want to hit on, I guess, it's not really. It's a different than positive. So if you have more like distinct positives, it's not negative though. But I want to hit since we do know there's a season 3. We talked about this a little bit. Where is this show going?
Yeah.
Like, what is season 3 going to be about? What are we going to do with our characters? Is it going to get better? Hopefully. Do you think they're going to hear criticisms? I guess. Just what are your thoughts? Like
I
going
don't
into
know,
season
because like
three.
the criticisms we have now generally were the same for season one, and
Mm-hmm.
like supposedly they heard that, but then they made a season that, in my opinion, is somewhat of a downgrade from season one.
Yeah, if anything got worse.
So, yeah, I didn't know for sure when it ended, but I think now that I've got the chance to think about it, it's been out of my brain for a little bit. I think I definitely prefer season one over season two.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I don't know, man. I guess they're going more into this cloning stuff, which I thought they were going to do in season two because of how it left off in season one. But then they just kind of shelved that for the whole like 2/3 of the season, and they brought it back at the end.
Yeah,
And now we still
yeah,
don't have any answers about it. Just more
yeah.
questions, which isn't necessarily bad because that can be done in an interesting way. But um, obviously, all questions, not all questions, but a lot of the big questions will have to be answered, considering this is the final season coming up, is the third season. So I don't know, and I guess it'll be interesting at the start at least because Omega and Crosshair will be reunited. That's not a pairing we've seen very much at all, besides like the very first episode and the finale of season one. So I guess we'll see their dynamic grow a little bit, which I'm excited about because it's more of a one-on-one thing instead of Omega and the whole
Hmm.
squad. So there's more time maybe for them two to have like a sort of relationship. I think that'll be interesting. Um, I feel like they're really, and especially when you consider Mando season three, I feel like they're leaning a lot into the cloning stuff. I feel like they're leaning a lot into the sequels, like setting up the sequels in a way, which I'm all for, honestly. Like if you can make something that not makes those movies better. People say that like sidebar. People say that like Clone Wars makes the prequel movies better. I disagree. It does not make the movies better themselves. It changes nothing about the actual movies. It just makes the experience of watching them is significantly better. It doesn't make the quality of the movie increase or decrease, but it makes watching it a lot better, and it makes it a lot easier to understand. If they can do something like that for the sequels, I think that would be really good because they're here to stay, and I feel like at some point we just have to accept that they exist and that they're not going to ignore them. And I don't want them to ignore them, because what if they had ignored the prequels and we never got Clone Wars? You know, stuff like that. So I feel like they're going to lean into that more, because I feel like we've seen that so far, and we've also seen that with Mando season 3. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you feel that they're also kind of teasing some of that stuff?
Yeah. At points, I think maybe it's getting much.
Yeah, it could,
because they made the choice to, they made the choice to have Palpatine be a clone or whatever. And I know cloning was big in Legends, but now it's like, well, now Mando's about cloning, and now, well, this show's about cloning, and Andor has cloning in it. Like, it's a lot.
It seems like Disney
like,
is just
I'm
trying
all
to
for like supporting it.
Yeah, like it seems like Disney is just like, okay, we made this decision, and now we have to quickly explain it so it makes sense, and then they're like kind of pushing that in all of their shows now.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, this is
why. Exactly. It feels like it's being pushed. It doesn't feel like it's being. I don't know. I feel like there's a better way to go about it. Like the Clone Wars wasn't like, oh, panic, let's make the sequels better. The Clone Wars was like, I guess we can make a show about this. Let's make it good. And then they did. And then they didn't just explore like, oh, we have to make Anakin more likable. No, they made droids more like they did whatever they wanted. Like, and it was good and it was fun. And they had more freedom. I feel like sometimes, like, I guess it makes sense in this show that it is clones. Omega's like a clone. Like, you should pursue that avenue, but then they're not pursuing it for most of the season. And then at the very end, they're doing it again. Like, it just feels like it's being pushed. Like, Disney's like, all right, you can make a show, but you have to hit on cloning because we did that for sequels.
Instead of having their own thing that explains that, like Clone Wars was for the prequels.
Exactly. But yeah, because even in Mando too, like, I guess Baby Yoda, Grogu, they want to clone him, but like, I don't know. Sometimes it feels forced.
We'll talk about Mando,
but I'm all for it. Like,
once that's yeah, for sure.
But I'll just mention the sequels thing again. I think you're right. They're here to stay. Like, love them, hate them, probably hate them. They're here to stay. So it's there's nothing we can do to get rid of them. You know, it's like we can just make shows around them that might help them like become fleshed out. Like, you can't like artificially increase their quality, like you were saying.
I think it would be stupid
if there's
to get
things
rid
like
of them
this
too. You know, like, you gotta you made it, stick with it. You know, just it would be stupid to completely just remove them. Like, that's such a waste of so much time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but yeah, in that same vein though, like, if you're gonna do cloning, like if you're gonna make a show about cloning, like, take charge, make it about cloning. Don't make it about like,
or just the whole era in general that
Pabu,
explains
like,
why these things happened the way that they did.
It
doesn't have to be just like, it could be the whole like era of like the whole time period.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah. And I think Bad Batch could have been a show like that. It had so much potential. It still does. There's still another season, but that transition period, like, how does like the Empire get started, like, out of a republic? That has a lot of thematic parallels, I guess is the right word, for how the First Order gets started out of the New Republic. So if we could have explored that more with our clone troopers, with Bad Batch, how literal brainwashing can be used to corrupt the entire political system of a galaxy, and then how like cloning could be used. It's such awesome themes, and then like those awesome themes take a backseat to like other stuff. So, but we've mentioned that, I think, enough. But yeah, for me, I guess for season 3, I have no idea where we're gonna go, man. I guess we're gonna hang around with the batch a little bit. It's pretty much just Hunter, Wrecker, right? And then I guess if Echo chooses to stay, Tech's gone. Echo, I guess, could be a part.
He was with them at the
maybe
end,
Cody,
I think, right? He ended up. Yeah, it was them 3. And
but
AZ3.
Like, Echo seemed to
like, he's there.
Yeah, AZ. Oh my goodness,
Gonky.
But because the thing is, like, we're focusing in right now. We're left to like 2, Echo 2, but really like Hunter and Wrecker, right? Like, just focus on them. Like, it's for me, but before these 2 seasons came out, that's super exciting, right? diving deep into their characters, exploring them. They're at their lowest point in their lives. Like, where do they go from here? That would be so exciting. Just focus on them. But the whole show is supposed to be focusing on the characters, and they really haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
So it's in this weird kind of limbo between exciting opportunity, but if I'm being realistic, they haven't fulfilled on exciting opportunities yet. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm still gonna, like, obviously we're still gonna watch it. Obviously we're still gonna tune in. We're not gonna go in pessimistic. We're wanting the best for the show. It's just like the stakes are high, but
our expectations will be lower, probably. You know, they might just be. Maybe that's part of it. You know,
in all fairness, yeah, yeah, maybe.
But
oh
well. Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything else to say. I think that should do it.
I think that about.
Yeah, for Bad Batch Season 2, that's our final thoughts. You know, maybe we'll talk about it again in the future. We'll for sure talk about it when Season 3 comes out. But for now, at least, that's it. We can put a bow on it, wrap it up nice and neat, put it away, and we'll bring it back out again once it's Bad Batch in season, if you will. Yeah, but let us know what you thought about the season overall. You know, did you even watch it? What are we right? Are we wrong? Or do you agree or disagree? Yeah, make sure you check out, like I said earlier, check out all of the reactions. All that stuff is linked down below. Season 1 and 2 reviews, whatever, all of that stuff. You can find that on the channel. When you're seeing this, Mando Season 3 probably over. I don't know yet when this is exactly going up, but check out the Mando Season 3 stuff. That's still somewhat current. Finale's probably out. It was great. Actually, we haven't seen it yet, so I don't know. But
it's gonna be terrible now.
Oh, I can't believe it was boop boop boop.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, that is gonna do it for us. Thank you guys for tuning in. Also, check out the other podcast episodes, because I forgot this is a podcast series that we're kind of doing. So there's other episodes about that. Thank you guys for watching, and we will talk to you next time. Goodbye.